Hi everyone, this is Chase the Channel. My name is Kirill and we talk about watches here. Today we have the legendary G-Shock. Its appearance is recognizable perhaps by all Casio fans, but at the end of 2023 the brand decided to update the module, and now these variants come with the letter U in the item number. And we have two versions at once, the classic one with a light display and the second version with a black display. Today we will look at them. Compare them with previous variants without the letter U. We'll find out what's new and what has remained unchanged. And as always, you can purchase all these models in my store chasterclub.com. Links will be in the description. And we are greeted by perhaps the most recognizable G-Shock shape, that very classic rectangle. I'm sure all of you have seen it at least once in your life. And the appearance has remained unchanged. That is the same rectangular case, dark color. Even the recessed upper left button has remained recessed, just as it was in previous models. The overall design aesthetic has been maintained throughout. I'll remind you that it's only responsible for settings, so essentially you don't use it much. Unlike the other three, this one is recessed into the surface, making it stand out from the rest. This is a feature of the DW-5600 series. Well, basically everything has remained unchanged, meaning it's a flat mineral glass. This is a steel case back. Let's finally compare it with the previous version. It's interesting to look at some of the inscriptions that have changed. Well, first of all, the inscription under the dial on the old previous version. It's hardly worth calling it old. Rather, it's the previous version. Electroluminescent backlight, yes, the very one that is evenly distributed across the entire display. We will, of course, take a look at it later. The new version features LED technology. Of course, many people don't like this. Many people are satisfied with the previous version, but Casio claims that the new backlight version allows for energy savings. And here we move directly to the second significant change. Compared to the 2-year battery life of the previous version, the same CR2016 battery now lasts up to 5 years. That is practically, and not just practically, but the lifespan has increased by 2.5 times. And you know, this 5-year term is already getting closer to solar batteries. That is, solar batteries are generally considered to last 10 to 15 years. Well, for example, these watches, they're already 10 years old. I have them with a solar battery. They look great and everything still works. But nevertheless, you won't need to change the battery often. This is the innovation here. Again, some might find this insufficient, but still, let's continue. We immediately see the display color. If in the previous version it was dark, somewhat sepia-like, then here, look, it's light, significantly lighter. I think the readability is better, of course. Both have good readability naturally, but in comparison everything becomes obvious. And also the color of the case and strap, this immediately caught my eye. Notice that on the right, the new version is slightly more gray, slightly more graphite, whereas the previous version on the left is directly black, coal black, and the case material itself, although it's a regular polymer material, not the bioplastic that Casio now inserts into every other G-Shock, nevertheless, the previous version's material is dense. It's just like my GWM5610, really dense and differs from the new one. The new one is a bit more flexible, maybe not such a big difference, but when you hold them and compare, you can feel it. And of course the back cover, there we had the old module 3229 and without the letter U. The new version now comes with module 3525 and the letter U in the item number. Also actually the black versions too. So here we have, can you imagine, to understand what version this is, I have to look at the back cover and the module. They are so identical externally. This is the old version. This means it's the new one. This is the old one. This is the new one. Yes, indeed, they are almost indistinguishable. Well, the black ones, understandably. Everything was black before and remains black. This is for lovers of such style. Of course, the readability here is significantly worse than the previous ones, both on camera and in person, but they probably look more stylish. And regarding our new version, absolutely nothing has changed here. On the display. Let's continue with the white one after all, because the black one is really an acquired taste. Regarding functionality, it's the same multifunctional alarm clock that can be set to sound daily, monthly, on a specific date, and so on. This is a countdown timer. This is a stopwatch with 1/100th second precision and measurement up to 24 hours. Well, that's basically it. And here, there isn't, for example, the option to change the day of the week to Russian language, although many people are attracted to this feature, and in the same G5600, you can see it. As for the 3525 module, we've actually already encountered it in our review. I'll remind you that we had the Ninja style model, and it had exactly the same module, but not all modules are created equal. Of course, the main thing here is probably to look at how the backlight has changed. And here we see the new version with LED backlight. No, the readability is excellent. There's no question about that because the entire display is still evenly illuminated. Yes, of course, the left part is more illuminated, which makes sense because that's where the light comes from. But in person, this is barely noticeable. The backlight looks very beautiful in person. So here, perhaps, it's worth acknowledging that this might have been the point. However, when we turn on the previous one, we understand that there was still some charm, some special quality in that backlight, this green tint of the electroluminescent backlight, the uniform glow. But many people like it, and I understand them perfectly, because it's an absolutely different perception. Yes, the readability is also good, but still, as an owner of the old GWM5610 model with green backlight, I probably admire it more. No, although the new one is also not bad, so we take the black models. This is how our apparently old version looks, judging by the backlight. And this is how the new one looks. Here, by the way, the difference is already noticeable because in the black one indeed, look, the old version of the electroluminescent backlight was probably not particularly readable in the dark, whereas the fresh version, yes, is actually better. Better both on camera and to the eye, especially to the eye in person. The backlight on the new ones reads significantly better. Now I'll try to turn them on simultaneously. On the left, the new one, on the right, the old one. Yes, perhaps for the black version, the change in backlight definitely was beneficial. Unlike the white display, where it's just a matter of taste, here the difference is really noticeable. They sit on the wrist exactly the same way because the dimensions haven't changed. Still, the same height of 48.9 millimeters, width of 42.8 millimeters, thickness of 13.4 millimeters. Still plenty of holes on the wrist, ranging from almost 14 centimeters to 21.5 centimeters, a wide range. The strap shape remains the same, and the weight is still 52 to 53 grams. Basically, nothing has changed except, as I already mentioned, the material, meaning the strap is indeed slightly softer. It feels a bit softer on the wrist, but there's no critical night and day difference. I don't feel anything like that. The legendary G-Shock form factor, which now goes with almost any clothing except business attire. The design is so recognizable, and no wonder it's been at the top for decades, and for good reason. The black version is more stylish, perhaps even more design-oriented. The white version is more versatile and probably better suited for everyday wear due to its readability. Actually, I was initially skeptical about these updates when the press release came out. It seemed like increasing the battery life and changing the backlight wasn't exactly a major update, but nevertheless, I think the black version really benefited from the backlight change, even though you can't tell which model is old and which is new until you look closely. But as soon as you turn on the backlight, everything becomes clear. However, as we discovered, the changes affected not only the module but also the appearance. The color changed, the material changed, becoming softer. So if someone was bothered by the relative stiffness of the previous one, let's say, then you can choose the new version. Again, if someone actually preferred the electroluminescent backlight, then naturally the previous versions are still available. Nevertheless, the new version has acquired what seems to be a more energy efficient backlight that actually looks pretty good in person too. Casio has since released several more rectangular models with the updated module, and it's nice that the brand keeps the previous versions available for sale. Meanwhile, the updated versions are also available at chaserclub.com at good prices. And by the way, these watches are in the budget of under $150. So if you have a small budget but want to treat yourself to legendary sports watches, these are excellent options. In the end, I'd like to know your opinion. Which model did you like more, and did you like this update at all? Be sure to comment about it. And if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That's all for now. Goodbye, everyone.